The memes tells the story. This war has many shades. We'd wake up every morning, and before I'll join the fleet, I'll take a swig from last night's big wave that's sitting on the desk. Feed up a new ship and then be on the way. I've bridged far and wide, and we killed many ships. We were guided by an FC team, saw beauty in the comms. I heard the tales of many lives, told a few stories of my own. I had gay camps all around me, so I was never alone. Watching newbies showing up, other newbies growing up. Sometimes they were so messed up they didn't have a clue. I am saying the war is over, we waited with all of you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. This shot for the mighty FCs, the whelps, the winds and piracy. This shot for the mentors that raised beasts, taught you to face that with bravery. This shot for our favorite game, out in space even if it lags. This shot for our alliance home, with pride we defended to the grave. Watching newbies showing up, other newbies growing up. Sometimes they were so messed up they didn't have a clue. I am saying the war is over, we waited with all of you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. Cool's Wars means the most to me, defending here for eternity. Newbies that stays the course, grow to an almighty force. Every beam that shines down from above, I sign and seal these words in blood. I heard them once and in a song, it played again and we sang along. Every busy with me, even if you're gone, you always be welcome back. On Swar will remain strong. Watching newbies showing up, other newbies growing up. Sometimes they were so messed up they didn't have a clue. I am saying the war is over, we waited with all of you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. With pride I'll fight side by side with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. I've been sitting over here in a fleet with you. In a fleet with you, in a fleet with you. Signed and sealed in blood, I will die alongside all of you.
Yeah.
Most
So
I'm going with Azrael for my Ragnarok being cooler, Mac, but definitely that's a cool name.
Most of my subcaps get called Sex Kitten if I don't really know what to call it that.
Now that's how you open a show.
Yeah.
Good job.
That was good timing.
Beside me, misspelling the title of the show in the Twitch stream, right? So, welcome everybody to the nearest we can calculate approximately maybe the 150th. Push.
Good as any.
Yay.
Can you believe 150 episodes?
Considering we were on episode 100 only like 3 hours ago.
I know. Well, so I'm sitting there going.
You have to recalculate.
Well, I had to recalculate.
Clearly, Eric can't count.
Yeah, and so I did. I went on and found the how many weeks between these two dates calculator on the internet, and it said 98 weeks between this episode that I knew the number of and this, and I said, okay, there are probably 2 or 3 shows in there that we did a hiatus or something. So we're going 150. That's what we're calling this.
So that's like Pappy math.
Pappy math. Well, I mean that's how they do their finances, right?
That's much, Caleb.
Right.
We've done more.
I would say it's more.
Yeah,
I would say it's actually a hell of a lot better than.
It could be CCP
at least.
math.
Yeah, it could be CCP's math. Yeah,
That would be a lot worse.
It's definitely better than Brave's
CCP.
math.
Hey, we get to be nice to CCP today.
It wasn't the worst possible thing, just that it was harsh.
We get to be nice to CCP, sort of, because as long as CC goes through some of the changes that they've put out this morning, will be fun for the game. I think.
This is not necessarily an attack on CCP. It's historical fact.
Well, I know.
Horrendous backing up here. CCP math is mysterious and weird, and they have problems with commas. They have problems with actual region numbering. It's been a thing since like forever.
Well, so what you're saying is they just have a problem with math.
A little bit. They do some very big blunders when it comes to math.
Meow Cloud. I did see that Meow Cloud. So, by the way, hopefully we've got all the sound figured out. Eric is on his new PC that sometimes gets a little louder than his old PC. Fans, we had a little challenge on Data Thursday with that, but hopefully I've got all that noise canceling put in and back in the new install. So
you use my show as the test run, so that makes sure.
I mean, it sounds.
Done.
It does sound like
have
you got
the streamer key put into XSplit before your show. We're like 5 minutes to go live. I'm like, hey, I need to find the key. We're not doing anything.
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
I do want to say this about the stuff on Sissy and what's coming and blah 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 and all that stuff. And you can see that filler there.
Indeed, filler noises.
It's going to be a lot of fun listening to FC's bitch.
Have you started refitting already, or are we sticking with are we going to be getting any surprises?
Refitting them.
I've heard something about Arendis watching the Pando stream and just getting frustrated with the fact that he's got a lot of work coming up soon.
No. In fact,
that's the opposite of what happened.
Yeah, I was not frustrated at all, and like I don't know exactly why this combination tripped it, because Pando's a really cool, interesting guy, and I've seen Rise on multiple streams, and he's usually very engaging, but I fell asleep.
Yeah, I was actually slightly bored too. I think it was a little bit
straight up fell asleep like 5 minutes. Thud. Woke up to hear.
Shows all the time.
Yeah, so tune in again. What?
It was
honestly
not the most engaging stream. I hate to say it, but it wasn't the most engaging stream.
It was sad because
I stopped watching and basically.
Right?
I mean, the CCPs they have to behave like they can't just like go all out kind of crazy on that sort of thing.
Even still,
to listen to the FCs have to deal with what do you mean we need to train 2 more damn skills up to 5 after all this bullshit to get into a monitor?
The gatekeeping, the skill gatekeeping is like, for those who don't know, just to
it's
be
fucking
clear for our audience.
It's fun.
It's a really good goal. So yeah, for the audience who may not have heard about this, one of the things to do with the new fleet formations is that there will be 2 new skills added to the game when they go live. This is a skill to actually unlock the different fleet formations. So you've got the standard kind of current ball-esque, keep at range, warp in, whatever. Then you've got the arrow, then you've got the something else, then you've got the wall, then you've got something else, then you've got the relative fleet formation.
Well, there's arrows and
you need formation 5 in order to be able to screenshot your fleet formation and use that in warp. So that's going to be like a week's worth of training, or more accurately, half an injector. And then there's going to be another skill on top of that, which will increase the range at which your formations will work. So at level 1, you'll have like a 20-kilometer range. At level 2, you'll have a 40-kilometer range. At level 3,
that was a really terrible explanation of that. It's basically the range at which you can spread your ships out in that formation.
But who was surprised that there was a skill sync and an ISK sync added to a new feature of the game? It's like, that's been the case every single time a new feature was added to this game. Come on, guys.
If you genuinely think mainline FCs for every single like nullsec alliance are gonna like slow boat train that shit, like you've got another thing coming. Like
it's gonna be an injector.
Every FC worth their weight in their alliance is likely going to get a few large skill injectors from their alliance and just go, just bring it to max level 5s on both of them straight away, please.
It's ready for the blunders that these are going to cause. I imagine the first few fleets is here we go, warp, and just like the wrong formation or no formation at all, or he hits warp and just nothing happens because he forgot to click some extra button that you have to click to make this shit work.
They seem to have made it like the selection of warping and that kind of stuff like quite streamlined to some degree. We'll see obviously on Monday when it actually lands on Sissy, as far as I know.
No, the interesting part.
No, has it already hit?
Monday it's due to hit on CC.
Okay, cool.
The interesting one was the snapshot one, because you can make a penis and fly in a penis.
No, but you can't save that.
Here's the key.
Just for the moment, you have 2 balls of fleets and then 1 long shaft.
I mean, you can be off grid. You can be off grid, set that all up, and then warp on grid with that already pre-set up. So
yeah, but once you land on grid, you're done.
Well,
it's not formation on grid. It's just
Don, if you're using the phallus formation, make sure that you don't accidentally get neutered or and you actually get your balls and your tip cut off.
Wasn't there a fleet formation that I saw? No, I'm gonna have to find it now. But
there's a wall.
I saw I saw a phallic kind of formation with a small stream of a fleet flying through the middle and out the end at one particular point.
So you do know that the giant balls and shaft formation is probably going to be used for goon propaganda when it comes to hold on, it's going to be like State of the Goonion, like pass and review like they do in the military, but just like on massive scale. It's just going to be these giant freaking wangs all over the place at 1DQ.
Guys, there's going to be a change in FC. Dictator is going to take over from it
when they do the mass testing. So we got the fucking phallus.
Hello guys, it's baguette time.
You also got to get video of friggin' Mittens calling for pass and review, and then in character. It would be awesome. And a wizard hat.
The other thing that was interesting is if you warp in any formation really, but the one that was really interesting was the wall to a bubble, because they asked how does it interact with a bubble if some of these people aren't in line with that point the bubble stopping, and apparently what'll happen is your wall will wrap around the edges of the bubble, so all of you land in the bubble together.
I think the funny part of that is that because of the way that the game is coded, you will be able to see what's going to happen to you while you're in.
Oh yeah, that's right too. It happens in warp. So just
they say that all of the pathing for the warps, like for bubbles, etc., each ship is calculated independently.
Yes.
Yeah,
if you're
so
some ships will get caught, some ships won't get caught.
Well, that's not going to break anything.
I think that's working as intended. But the funny thing is that you might be able to know a lot of this before you land on grid. I think that's a little bit hilarious.
Definitely. There will be if say you're warping in a wall and this wall is like 50 kilometers aside, a bubble is only like 25, 30 kilometers across the diameter. So some of the ships in the center or on one edge of the wall will start to curve in so that they get dragged in that formation. They'll get curved mid-warp, and then the rest will just be going flat and miss the bubble. So you'll definitely have an indication, but at the same point, if you're not scouting your warps and managing your approach to gates in that sort of sense,
then you basically should be dying. Yeah, then you're going to be basically removed from being a FC of a fleet very quickly.
I liked one of Pando's remarks on that show, by the way, the fact that he almost applauded the amount of points of failure that is now being introduced to this gameplay. It's going to be hilarious. The number of things that can go wrong now is just exponentially increasing, and you're going to see some hilarious plays.
The best moments in EVE have been when humans do human things, i.e. fuck up. And the more moments that where CCP can allow us to fuck up, the better the game will be in the long run.
And it sounded to me like, even though of course there was a lot of poo-pooing and naysayers and stuff like that, it sounded like Pando was actually quite interested to check this out and see how it can be actually utilized. And I'm almost going to be inclined to call this an initiative buff addition to the game, because I'm looking forward to seeing how the initiative experiments and do their R&D on this, because it's going to be fun.
I'm still less.
Wetworks are starting up.
This is a warp only.
No king
feature. You enter warp in this formation. You exit warp in this formation. Once you hit grid, everything is just going to go back to the way it normally is anyway, because it's effective and it works.
I doubt that.
But the other thing is, keep in mind, all of these formations except relative and sphere are just to increase how many people die.
Yeah.
And they're going to form who gets primaried. Because the guys on the edges of the formation will always be furthest from the Logi, and one side will always be closest to the enemy.
Yep.
Yeah, but when it comes to the shapes and the orienteering in space, this can have some potential usage when it comes to Titan Doomsdays and structure weaponry, right?
No.
I mean, it could be interesting. Like, I sort of thought that maybe the wall formation might be actually quite useful for, super caps to come in onto a Citadel grid, because in that kind of sense you'll be able to almost guarantee that they'll mostly be in range, like way more than other variations, just to some degree, and especially in balls. But the other kind of thing is warping super caps onto a Citadel grid is kind of fraught with issues anyway, so you might just want to use the Sino in technique typically.
Speaking of Sinos, they just announced the mobile Sino beacon,
which will last about 30 seconds each time someone tries to launch it.
If you're
unless they launch it somewhere that no one's around for solo travel, right?
Or for sneaky plays. Like, I looked at it and said, oh, people are going to find ways to make this work, because you can set it somewhere, and unless you're you can see it on DScan, I think, right? Just like an inhib. But
yeah, you should be able to.
But
it should also show up on the map as a beacon. The in-game map shows Sino.
Oh, beacons, but nobody looks at that thing. So.
What do you mean nobody looks at that thing? Holy shit! Like, how does recon even work?
Recon always looks at that shit. Recon basically snapshots that shit all the time.
Basic ratters don't. I'm just thinking of you set it in a site that's off DScan from the other sites that, like there are systems where they have 2 pockets of ratting, right? There's like ZXB, for example, is like 25 AU from one pocket to the next, and the sites always spawn in one side or the other. So if you have a super on one side and you put the Cyno beacon on the other, he's gonna eventually run out of sites over there and have to warp to that side. Won't see it on DScan, be like, oh shit, and then dread bomb right in.
I'd also expect this to show up on the overview.
It will not.
As a Cyno beacon.
It will not.
It depends if
it's like
it will not with great confidence that on.
You won't see it until the Cyno inhibs aren't on the overview unless you're on grid. So this is going to be the same thing. They said it's going to work almost the exact same way.
It depends entirely on whether when you throw it out of your ship, whether it actually like lights as soon as it anchors.
2-minute anchoring timer.
Cyno inhibs aren't beacons that can be locked on for
They said it's going to be basically the same as an inhib. It's going to be a beacon.
Yeah. So even if you have a fucking inhib, but it will inhibs will potentially break it, turn it off. So
that's what I think that was some of the things they weren't sure about.
Okay, that's going to be something to test then, at the very least, is whether or not these things will show up on the overview once they're activated. But at the same time, this is
active. It will definitely show up because it's a giant fucking candle in space.
Well, you would hope, but this is CCP, so let's not get our hopes up too early around us. But I mean, as a serious question, this is CCP introducing a new thing as a result of actions that they took to reduce Cyno popularity and to bring supercap umbrellas into check, because they don't feel like they can balance recons around the fact that they made recons the primary Cyno ship in the game.
Maybe they should just make a Cyno class.
It's a
funny,
weird.
Let's chart this all the way back, right? Like Cynos used to be used on all manner of ships, but for a large majority of the Cynos used to be used on noob ships, right? Like your corvettes,
or
right?
Interceptors
and
or industrials for permanent Cynos.
Yeah, but there were a large proportion of the Cynos were lit on noob ships, on corvettes, kind of thing. But you never had to do a balance pass on that because it had Cynos. Eventually, obviously, CCP went we'll do a ridiculous balance pass to the point where you can't use Cynos on anything except recons. Now they're kind of backpedaling that a bit because now they can't balance. Now they can't do balance passes on recons without it potentially affecting Cynos, and they can't do balance passes on the Cynos without it affecting recons. So they're kind of it's a bit of a catch-22 going on.
Yeah, the funny thing to me in all of this is that Rise said specifically, look, they made these changes to try and address super capital umbrellas. And they did address super capital umbrellas because suddenly you couldn't have a Cyno on your ratting carrier or every super cap. And
every ship every single ship that you that you met in space wasn't potentially a super capital force landing on top of your head.
Goonie, as Goonie says in Twitch chat, CCP break things, then tried to fix what they broke instead of not breaking it in the first place. CCP addressed supercap umbrellas, not by dealing with super capital mechanics, not by dealing with the sheer cry out for actual balance across super capitals, but by changing how they could access systems and massively nerfing their mobility. That's one way to do it, and it definitely was effective, but they've now backed themselves into the situation where they don't want to touch recons. Specifically, is it all recons that can use Cynos, or is it just the...
No, it's all recons.
Yeah, all
recons.
No. All recons,
so they don't.
for sure.
So they don't now want to touch any recon and make it overpowered in the sense of their use case, simply because it can introduce super capitals to the grid.
To the field.
You know, they
yeah,
can't
grid.
touch the rapier and make it more effective because it can
Not
introduce super
all
capitals.
recons. It is only force recons.
That's what I thought.
Combat recons cannot light Sinos. You cannot put a Sino on a Yugen.
Can... So
Not that you'd want to. It's not like it tanks more.
Neither the rapier. They're the same. Tank.
So, yeah, I suppose my point now, regardless of which recons is that can do this, they can't touch those recons because if they touch those recons and make them stronger, then they make the method for super capital over superiority entering a grid stronger. They make it more likely that these ships can be used to escalate. And so they're still balancing based upon their concern about the overuse of super capital ship.
Yes, but
they're just doing it in a roundabout way.
The deployable Sino beacon actually does have something going for it over the old stuff.
True.
It doesn't use ozone?
It's not that. It's the whole play counterplay thing, okay? Like the old stuff, right? Where your Rorqual, for example, had a Sino on it. As long as you could get in fleet and push the button before the inhib went on, your Sino was up. And fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got to drop the beacon before they drop the inhib.
Are we
Whichever
forgetting the most important?
Or if you've dropped it afterwards, you have to take out the inhib before your Sino.
I'm willing to bet you can't drop it within a certain radius of another deployable structure.
So no more.
No, they will. They will have to.
On the ship.
Yeah, because otherwise you won't be able to put a Sino like in regular places where everyone wants Sinos to be put. Like for example, right on the undock of a Keepstar, for example.
I'm willing to bet you can't do that.
Rise said on Reddit that they'll be able to drop at 0 on structures. They'll be able to drop anywhere that an ordinary Sino will be able to drop.
Should we also bring up one of Rise's other comments about the EHP of these things and wanting them to be
40,000.
40k.
And that being a low amount.
40K.
Yeah, because that won't just be alpha straight off the grid straight as soon as it gets dropped.
Like Rise said somewhere, I think it was Reddit, that he considers this to be a low value for the EHP of these things. Like 40k is a low value, and that's fairly low. It's still certainly alphaable, but like
40k for a full Munin.
That's literally 4, maybe 5, like fucking tornadoes. That's all that is.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where if they expect these things to actually be used in larger scale engagements,
no, they don't. They already said it's just for. They made it so industrials don't have to keep losing recons all the time. They gave them a cheap option.
Industrials don't have
Industrials have the industrial Sino.
I know they do, but there are times when you can't get an industrial ship into a location, but you can get a scepter that can carry one of these in.
You're forgetting the next comment that was made, that they want to move Sinos completely off of ships and onto deployables.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I really want to point out that in their original design proposal for the Sino changes, when they made them, only recons and bombers, because we've got to remember...
That's for Black Ops.
Yeah. Sorry, Black Ops. They were going to allow jump freighters to jump to covert Sinos, which would have completely invalidated the use case of the industrial Sino for a start, which Rorquals can't jump to because Rorquals can be fit as combat ships. Sure, thanks CCP.
Remember, industrial Sinos didn't exist at that point. They were created after that.
They were created specifically for this use case because people didn't want to be able to jump, or because people complained about jump freighters jumping to cloaky Sinos. And so they created this industrial Sino. And now they're suggesting that, Dawn has just suggested at least that the point of this new Sino beacon isn't for combat purposes, it's for, logistical purposes. and people not wanting to lose Sino recons every time they have to move a rock wall around or whatever. Like, that's fair. But at the same time, you know, for logistical purposes, they could have just let the jump freighters use covert Sinos, and then that wouldn't have been a concern at all.
Well, the other reason why they
done in the first place.
The other reason why they created the industrial Sino was also for Sino vigils. They didn't feel that it was you know, right or proper to relegate everybody who wanted to put a Sino up as a Sino vigil, you know, for Capsuleers passing on, to have to do it in a recon. They
created an entirely new module with jump restrictions, and part of their explanation was that, you're right, McLeod, and that is a fair point, and it shouldn't have... a Sino Vigil should not have to be as expensive as a recon ship, especially if it gets shot. Some people do that. But if they did that, why could they not just make a fucking Vigil Sino? But just create a new module that is not jumpable to by anything, but has this whole candle in space effect.
Yeah, festival launchers. It's not like they've grounds to say, "Oh, we don't do purely cosmetic shit."
No, but doesn't it kind of make sense to make all Sinos something that is deployed into space?
I mean, I think it's
the dumbest fucking idea I've ever heard.
Why?
I think
it makes sense, both lore-wise and gameplay-wise, right?
No.
Well, get ready, Bargos, because that's what they're doing.
What's the lore justification for saying that these things that have been perfectly able to fit onto ships suddenly can't?
Well, because it's like jumping to a beacon, right?
Which is why the ship can't move. It's got to be stable.
Isn't this easier? And then it's something that can be contested without having to deal with...
You couldn't explain away any of this shit. Like, you just need to be like, you know, fucking, I don't know, like fucking Concord has signed into law a decree saying that all Capsuleers have to, you know, cease using sinusoidal fields on their ships because, you know, the specific aspects of the field or this, that, and the other are affecting your, you know, your
type of
crew or whatever, and they're all getting like space cancer or whatever the fuck.
They
just go trick
a new type of Sino, and
don't
that involves a technological upgrade.
The utter stupidity that is taking that route. Because we already take that route every time they redo ship balance, right? Which means, hey, listen, I know I bought this carrier, no shit, 8 years ago, right? But Concord just said that they're going to do a recall. And so in my wormhole, suddenly everybody's going through refitting everything, and it took exactly 15 minutes over downtime.
No, 5 minutes.
I get that, horrendous, but like all I'm trying to say is
the old fucking model.
All I'm trying to say, horrendous, is like, you know, there's ways of being able to explain away this shit with law in some way, shape, or form.
Things that they do. I mean, we all buy into it because we have to, but it's just ridiculous.
At this point, Horrendous is not happy.
I think we've hit a nerve with Horrendous there.
Horrendous is not happy with Chimera version 2.2. He'd like 1.7 back, please.
Really, the funny thing is, it's not even I'm not happy with this or blah blah blah. It's just that, you know, from the standpoint of somebody who really likes going to museums and seeing old shit, okay? Wouldn't it be cool to be able to see all 3 Typhoon models next to one another in space?
It's actually something that could be a really good type of
Cylon
gameplay, right? If there was versioning and history on the specific types of ships, and hell, even I would be okay with saying that now it's actually a new blueprint, right? I know it would clutter up the database like crazy, but it would be cool if there was like a 2006 version, a 2009 version, and so on and so forth, right?
Does this mean that I can have my 5-star system Proteus back?
My God, can you
no,
imagine?
You can't.
Can you imagine seeing a 2000 and like a 2012 like
2012
old like 2012 like unmodified by CCP Dramiel, like flying about.
Oh fuck.
Well, it's also because they could do something funny with efficiency and build cost and all these things if they allow things like versioning, right?
We could. And you know what actually sparked this originally, this annoyance in my head about this? The announcement of Clear Skies 4. They're going to have to use the new Tempest model. It's not going to look right.
Oh, good point. Fuck. Although I have to say that I like the new Raven model.
I love the new model, but it's not going to look right for Clear Skies.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So basically, what Renus is
it
kind
would
of
be like-
asking
it would
for
be
is
like
we
it would
need
be like
versioning
watching
servers that we can log on
and they
to.
unveil the Millennium Falcon, and it's just a fucking Corvette, like
Yeah,
a damn 2003 Chevy Corvette. It's just like,
Basically-
wait, that's not it.
Basically, you want CCP to give us 10 test servers that are of different eras in Eve, so I can actually log on to a 2004 Eve.
Eve Classic.
If we're doing that, can we just have Eve Classic? Yeah, Dave.
No, you can't have Eve Classic, because Eve Classic kills Eve.
Do you have any idea?
Oh wait,
how
yes.
buggy that
Sorry,
shit
we all
was?
fuck off back to it away from skill injectors, right?
Eve Classic kills Eve, because nobody wants to start over, but like nobody wants to deal with today's bullshit either.
Don't log on to the boot INI server.
Yes, exactly. That would be a
No, I would
hilarious
log on
game.
to the boot INI server.
They inadvertently bring back that particular one just without even thinking. Everyone's like, "Oh, cool, classic! I'll try that one." Wait, why is my computer dead?
Singularity version 4 is like boot INI, but nobody realizes it, and some new player who's never even heard of boot INI logs into it for the first time, and suddenly, like, the next time they restart their computer, it's dead, and they're just like, "What did I do?"
Yeah. To Justin Space in chat, no, we're talking about a very old Tempest model. The new one is the one we have in game right now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
this
horrendous
is-
being a history buff and being very nostalgic.
Yeah, this is like
Being an
we were
old
talking about old
bastard.
Typhoon models there, and then we had like the Raven, and my god, does everyone remember the
Widow.
old fucking
The old Scorpion was amazing.
I was going to say
Oh,
the old
Scorpion, not
Osprey
Widow,
model,
sorry, yeah.
but yeah, the old Scorpion as well.
The old asymmetric Scorpion.
I think Arendis would just
Ah.
like to see what a mess the game would be if we got the old tanky Drakes and old speed tanking on the same server all at once. It would, of course, make his job completely impossible.
We could bring back the actual the proper Sleipnir as well.
Bring
It
back
wouldn't be
old
a
Sleipnir,
fucking
bring back old
terrible ass-
Vagabond.
Yeah.
Holy shit, imagine if you could have a version of the Vagabond where you could fit 2 MWDs to it.
Oh fuck! No, please no.
Could we try like cavalry Drakes this time?
No Drakes. You are not allowed Drakes. No Drakes.
I would love to. I would love to properly experience the old Cavalry Ravens at some point.
Sorry, guys, I
Like,
love the Drake.
I kind of experienced it at some point with the Ravens.
All of these things being there, and yeah, you make them harder and harder to build because the stuff that you need to build them is more and more outdated and not produced. But all of these things being there would actually give them more of a feel of a developing universe.
You know what? No, Canty says it in chat, right? And not to give CCP ideas, but purchasable skins to do the old model types. Like, I don't want to suggest that in a way, but at the same time, that would be a good way for them to make money if they really wanted to. We would do it.
They already have.
I would buy that
2015
shit.
Macariel.
I'd buy that shit, and I know a lot of people who would buy that shit.
But what
I
they
know-
could do to make even more money is they could re-release the old models and then sell you all the new skins for all the old models and make even more money.
Yes.
Can we just point out that some of those old models are horribly ugly?
We should. I mean,
Of what happens when you've got 2 super carriers next to one another that are different sizes now?
They bounce.
oh, I wouldn't
Mad
even care.
game.
I wouldn't even care. I think that's fantastic. I think we should all work for a CCP finance team.
Is Brisk watching? The question is Brisk watching this week?
Are we back to the?
Are we back to the hacks yet?
No, we're back to the same old topic that comes around, what, 3 times a year at least?
Why does CCP hate money?
Why does CCP hate money? Why does CCP not want us to throw money at them? Like, buildable, paintable models. Where are our buildable, paintable models, CCP?
Well, I mean,
your
yeah,
3D printed shit is fine, but, like, I want to do it myself.
I really want one of those models that you can light up from the inside as well. It'd be really fucking fantastic.
What, you mean like the Nix?
Like, can you
No, not the fucking like the levitating Nix bullshit. Like, it doesn't need to levitate for fuck's sake.
No, it's they've had these things freaking forever. They're basically plastic model kits. You glue them together, but you've got a fiber optic packet that goes to various points around the hull to light up like windows, and it's battery powered. Yeah, no.
And just on the whole skin
You have it set up so that you can pick which turrets you fit onto it, and which slots they occupy.
You know, the other thing that I've seen on other like other sorry about the fucking cars and shit like in the background, but like the other things that I've seen in backgrounds of YouTubers and sort of streamers and stuff like that are like the kind of like the sphere like models of the Earth that sort of float around everywhere so often. Yeah, those Mova globes. Like, can we not have like Eve planet versions of that? Like, they're pretty fucking fantastic.
I don't know how they do it though, because people wouldn't recognize the planets, and if you did a station, it wouldn't spin. Unless maybe you did a Galente station and held it in the middle.
No, you just keep it in the same place because then that is realistic to Eve. Right? Like they don't. The stations don't orbit. The stations don't orbit.
It doesn't turn.
It doesn't turn. It doesn't orbit. It just sticks in the same place.
Fair.
I think when it comes to my opinion on skins and money on the table, I'm still back at the fact that I think skins should be cyclicals and that they should be buildable either by raw materials or plex. So you would actually have a monetizing model that actually
somebody beat Caleb over the head. Quickly.
No, Caleb.
I'm going to beat Doug over the head. Check your Discord.
Hey, Sothra Seal's here.
Check
with his Sothra seal of approval.
Yeah, we need a graphic for the Sothra seal of approval, Soth.
I'm currently dealing with that.
Okay. This stream
don't come at me like that, Soth.
This stream is brought to you by a computer with the Sothra seal of approval.
There you go, baby.
Lord.
That was bad.
That was
yeah, it is.
Sponsored by Why Does CCP Hate Money?
Okay, so I'm hearing that you actually didn't fuck things up. He is just blind.
Hi, yes.
What?
Turns out, over the course of the show, many of us get many DMs. What I got just now was a DM about the Anger Games and about
doing something for the Anger Games,
which are system-wide probe and scan inhibs. We provide all of these to the team captains so that they can practice without worrying about being spied upon by other teams, without those other teams having to go to extreme lengths. And there was a question about a contract that I made to a team captain, and that team captain couldn't find it, and they were like struggling to figure out what the hell was going on, and it turns out that the contract was there and they were just bad. But yeah, Sothra comes in here like yelling at me. Like, first thing he says pretty much in the entire show is like, my god, check your DMs. I'm already dealing with it, and here we are now. Yeah, it turns out I wasn't the problem, Soth. Good job. Really, fucking vote.
I don't know if you put up the contracts for like only 5 days or something. That is a possibility. Come on.
They all got a full 4 weeks. Like, I'm not that bad. Jesus.
Like we're at, like the thing is, Soth, we're outside of the EU now, so you can't just go step one, blame the Englishman.
Oh no, he's running on a America.
What do you mean? I can do it even more now.
Are you kidding? Now you're not there to defend yourselves. They're going to blame you more.
Like,
oh, we don't care. We're not there.
It's much the same as us always blaming the French, really. It's just going to happen.
All I have to say is 4-2.
Well, McLeod, how is Init doing this week over against Brave?
Oh, we're a Dead Alliance, didn't you hear?
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're Dead Alliance.
I didn't know you died.
Rest in peace.
He died ages ago, apparently.
Did you run out of money too?
I believe so.
Well, that's what.
Our SRP was terrible. I don't know whether you've ever heard about it.
I think
Some
that
people
might have
was
something to do
terrible.
with how you were basically burning all your battleships.
Some people were traumatized by Init SRP at one point.
Yeah, strangely, it wasn't in it though.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
everyone, complained about Init SRP apart from Init. Really.
Yeah, you guys were all like, okay.
Yeah, we'll deal with this.
I mean,
we're fine.
You don't get full SRP for like your mainline battleships. Like, what? Who the hell would ever be okay with such a situation? And I mean,
Sikander is kind of right. Sikander is right. Arnold is to blame, to be completely honest.
Who is Arnold?
Yeah, the SRP manager.
Well, how's Brave doing this week? Has anyone heard from any of them?
I believe they picked up a new industry corp.
They don't have the money to communicate. Sorry.
Look, no. What it is, Dawn, they're being very silent because it's their only viable form of damage control. When in doubt, say nothing.
No, I hear you're supposed to victim shame and try to bash anybody that points out your failures.
Is this Trash Talk Tuesday rubbing off on you, Dawn?
God.
Dawn just needs to stop interacting with that show. Really, she gets too het up about everything.
Saying that every single time that I go that I listen to that show, you're also on it, Dirk.
I go on every couple of months to talk about something or other. I do it for fun.
I guess I just so happen to seem to catch you on it every so often.
Absolutely, it's my masochism at play there, McLeod. That's what you're seeing.
Okay, all right.
We all know how that one goes. It's never good for me, but it's always fun.
Yeah. So on Tuesday, one of the
I like to argue with you there, Dirk, but I've seen the way you get involved in things like this show.
Well, on Tuesday, one of the random things they were just like in between their weird narratives they were trying to pull, they were crowing about killing our Sotio, which was expensive and big, but honestly, after the other 30 we've lost, what's another one at this point, right?
What does that make the test to you?
Dawn, you forget.
I think it was just the fact
key
that I had a
thing
2-2
is, right? We actually have more than 30 to lose. What do they have?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the thing is we still have at least 20 plus more to go. So, chop, guys.
Only 20? I think there's a few more than that, but maybe.
I'm pretty sure that the test to you was 100 or something billion more expensive than a Keepstar.
Yeah, and I think we looted, or Bastion looted a lot more out of it, because I believe from the Goonswarm one that died, they got 30 billion. They were like, woo, we got a super carrier's worth. And then Bastion's like, woo, we got 100 billion plus in mods and shit. It's like a Titan
to be clear on that, Dawn, they got so much that, to what I understand, they didn't have the ships around to freighter it all away.
Oh no, that was a deal. I was Arendis and I were in an INN editorial meeting when that all kicked off, and spent the next 3 hours trying to get an article published about it and doing analysis. And in the meantime, Bastion were just scrambling to loot that thing. It was kind of funny, but also hilarious, just because of what they had in it. For the audience, to be clear, we're talking about a nearly 400 billion-esque loot pinata that had, best we can tell, 2 ME0 avatars in build, plus parts for Araya, plus parts for other things. And they are ME0 avatars because the numbers don't add up to anything else.
And
Oh,
this is
fucking
where the whole
crooks.
spin thing that you mentioned earlier, Dirk, comes into play, right? You cannot get away with saying, "Oh, I didn't care about that Titan building Sotillo at 400 billion anyway." It's like you can't really sell that. That's just
But they
wrong.
did.
No,
That's what they tried to
so
do.
dumb. It's like
Billy tried that.
already written off. It's like you can't say it was written off. It was building Titans, for
Put
God's sake.
a
Come
core
on.
in it. You cored it. You didn't even have to core it to keep it working, but you cored it anyways, and then it blew up 3 or 4 weeks after you cored it. You've been defending it this entire fucking time. You're on the attack. So how do you lose a 400 billionth Sotillo to some Lashaks and two supers?
Dawn's got it spot on that, because according to Carneros, executor of the Bastion and the guy who would know, this is the 5th time they've been through reinforcement cycles on this particular Sotillo. They only managed to kill it on round 5 of reinforcement cycles. But they still had ME0 avatars in build.
And they still had mobs on it.
So what you're saying, Dirk, is, we've got a clear target that's a pinata, and they just didn't even think to clear it out.
Right. So basically, what happened here, Eric? You're right. This was a target for sure, because it's a supercap construction facility.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have to be a pinata. What they did was they took the shell of a Sotillo and they stuffed it full of Titans in build and made it a pinata.
I love when that happens.
Like, this is an example of
Mm-hmm.
they just shoved it full of nice things to drop for the Bastion, and the Bastion weren't even ready for the pinata because they had to scramble.
They didn't expect that. No,
Like,
Test is doubling down so hard on that they quote unquote live and delve that they are just shooting themselves in the foot to try and sink their teeth into Delve so fucking hard. But we don't even know how Scarcity is going to end up. Delve could become the worst region in the game. But they are so committed to this that they are literally watching their allies just die and telling them, move here or else. They are picking up keep stars that are part of the chain from one section of Legacy to the other. So if you don't move, which was in that Evictus State of the Alliance thing, if you don't move before those get picked up, you might get stuck.
Well, heads up, like, Delve already is a bad region.
Well,
Delve
sucked.
Delve was great before the moon changes. Delve was great before the mineral changes. Delve is very defensible, as we've seen. It's taken them 8 months to get here. But by and large, the money-making potential for Delve has been nerfed into the ground by CCP.
With good reason, because it was massively overpowered. It was literally Australia getting 7 armies each round. It's like,
Caleb, nobody likes you. Nobody likes you here. Okay.
I know.
This is the bash S section of the show, not anything else. Okay. We're making fun of Billy for trying to downplay a 400 billion as Sotillo, which I'm not going to let them forget, because, dear God, they were just hounding into our 200 and something billion one that we lost, over the weekend. They're like, why didn't you defend that Sotillo? I'm like, because we've got like 50 others. Like, what's one more?
I just want to say, like, if Caleb has
move.
I just want to say, like, if Caleb has a risk kink, then, like, don't kink shame him.
Look, I'm good with the risk references. That was really cool. That was a great
we have a mic
segue in. I do really want to real quick address Retrofusion in Twitch chat, who says that there are some changes coming after the scarcity that Villy knows about, and that is why he's so hard for Delve. And I want to, like, shut that shit down right now. Accusing CSM members of doing that sort of thing, you have to be very careful. You have to have all of the evidence in place, and even then, you're probably wrong.
And that's probably the one thing.
Okay, in this case, this is like the war started so far back that he had no information that was possible to act upon. right?
No,
if he's
it's
got information,
worse
if he's
than
got
that, Caleb.
information about Delve and with the scarcity and the carrot stuff, he's gotten that very recently because CCP has been saying nothing, and we know that they've been saying nothing until like they maybe have started leaking things to the CSM maybe in December. And that just doesn't go with the narrative.
Guys, when they reseed...
because the ecosystem team in every fucking dev blogger they've published have mentioned the fact that they've been keeping the CSM in the dark on every stage of this until the last possible moment.
And the CSM has
CCP
told us this every
that.
single month, right? They, since this whole scarcity started, that they were very frustrated that CCP did not share any details or any even broad strokes when it comes to where that thing is going. So they are completely in the dark. As I said, if they have any information, they've gotten it very recently because it is getting very close to being released.
It is not a situation in which they could predicate an entire game, or at least nullsec-wide war campaign upon 6, 7, 8 months ago. They couldn't predicate where they were going to be right now. They couldn't predict where they were going to be right now.
It's too obvious.
It's just...
Yeah, if they were really thinking about what would be good after the research.
Got CSMs. Everybody else has CSMs. It's not like any of them wouldn't be already saying to CCP, the fuck, guys?
Also, to
think about
answer
it.
the question
When they
of who bought all the fly...
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You finish.
To answer the question of who bought all the flycatchers before the patch notes came out, if you look at the graph going back more than 2 weeks, you can see that the amount of flycatchers on the market was decreasing. People weren't building them at that point. So then they spiked back up because there was less of a supply and more of a demand because of the patch notes that CCP released. Well, I say patch notes because of the information that CCP released in a dev blog 2 days ago.
And can we just get off the whole front running for a few billions? That's some.
It's
seriously that's
supply
not
and demand.
That's
I
not
gotta
even.
go. I'll catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks for
That's
stopping
not
by,
even
Candace.
Brave level money. It's like ridiculous to claim that that's a problem. If we're talking front running and speculation based on CSM knowledge, you have to do that on a way smarter scale because you're under a complete scrutiny from the security team every single day. So come on, can you get
when they
this
reseed
tinfoil
anyway?
hat bullshit?
When they reseed whatever they're going to reseed across the universe, right? It's going to be all randomized anyway. They're not going to say, oh, in
and watch Delve become the best region or the worst region.
No, I just find it funny if we're really gonna. Let me mute myself on Mumble. I realize it's still talking on there. I was just gonna say, if anyone's making profit off the if anyone was going, oh, let's go for the ideal region, it's fucking Frat. They literally just took Tribute, which was probably the best region because right now you can project into low sec and hit low sec Noxium.
Mm-hmm. Like literally drop the keep.
Aside from the money stuff, right? Anyone wanting to actually sit and live in Delve for strategic purposes has been a thing in EVE since 2004. This is not news, right? It's a really good region when it comes to defense. And again, the risk comparison is Australia. It's like completely horrible to try and push someone out from Delve. This is also why, well, we could applaud Pappy a little bit for even trying because it's a big order.
Well, much like Australia, it is just full of sand.
Wait. You say that, but when we moved here, I went on vacation for a week and came home, and the war for Delve was over.
Yeah, Eric,
well,
that's...
No one big was really like living here when we came over.
I know. I was just harassing him a little bit there.
That was
I was a little upset about that, though. I'm like, what?
I mean, the defensibility of the region does hedge on like competent attackers and defenders.
How many wars in EVE have gone on for 8 months in the history of EVE?
Bartkos, this is an Imperium show. We do not talk about competence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
had the Frat War last year or 2 years ago now.
No,
and
that
we've
didn't
had
go
the
on for that
Hell
long.
War or the Great War, whatever it is.
And how long did they last, though, in comparison?
Well, Test versus Frat went for 8 months from start to finish.
Okay.
Do we really consider that a major war?
Did two giant alliances shoot at each other, and did one of them move? Were there supers and titans used in this conflict? Yes.
Did it
If
keep
that's
Star
your
Die?
basis, then holy shit. We're going to be here for a very
You said
long
war.
time if those are the
What?
minimum requirements.
You said
Can
war.
I just
war.
Can I just say that the changes to all the various to like mining specifically is kind of funny because it's also made Providence actually worthwhile.
Like the
Wait, Provi is worth it?
But
Yeah.
You could project into lowsec from YWSO, and it's actually a lot of lowsec.
Yeah, it's
Sure, but you're
pretty
projecting into
solid.
HTTP few lowsec, so
Yeah, that's just part of the
Still
risk.
low. It still has minerals.
Realistically, if you're sitting in Tribute projecting into lowsec, you're projecting into Snuff's.
If you're frat, if you're frat and Norris is actively flying with Snuff, Snuff ain't gonna fuck with you.
I mean that's another thing that we can talk about today. Actually, yet another topic of things that have happened this week in Eve. Snuff decided that they were gonna go ahead and completely just ignore their agreement with the TTC.
Just take a fucking torch to it.
Literally torch Igniton. That's ongoing at the minute. I'm just logging in a character that's close by to see where we're at on those timelines. But the armor timers were yesterday evening. And so yeah, Snuff decided that hey, fuck the Sixth Empire last month. Fuck the TTC, which they were getting money from each month, by the way. 25 billion ISK a month, and they wanted more, so they didn't get more, and they took a torch to Igniton. Snuff are, as I said in the article I published the other day, Snuff are trying to be the big fish in the little pond again, while we're distracted in Delve.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Well, let's talk this out here. I know of a very convenient, almost 11 keep star chain through lowsec that nobody's defending, and half of them don't even have doomsdays on them. So Snuff, if they get bored with Igniton, I'm just saying Marmeha.
I mean, maybe that's where they'll
and
go
then
next.
There's like a ton of them that are available that Test is not going to defend, and then Pappy won't even have a way to get home.
I think Dawn has this as a working title on the operation. It's called Goodbye Pearl Necklace.
There's so much wrong with this show that I don't know where to begin, guys.
I'm just saying, it's how if you get bored and you want to do anything for me.
Yeah, so it looks like the Igniton Tranquility trading the Igniton TTC complex will be dead a little bit later than this tomorrow. We're talking about between we're 21 hours 25 minutes from this point, so what's that? 1600 tomorrow for the actual Keepstar.
You talking UTC?
Eve time.
Okay.
All times in Eve time. So 1600 Eve for the Keepstar, then like 20.
Math is hard.
2010 for the Tatara, and then
all of it's dying.
Just shy of 2300 for the Satio. And so yeah, it's all gonna die within the space of about 6 hours tomorrow in Igniton. Snuff dropping Titans on it.
If you were Snuff, what would your next target be after Igniton? Since clearly Villy's not going to come punish you for breaking your agreements.
Well, I don't think.
Are they? Is anybody going to go punish Snuff for breaking their deal? No.
I don't think they chose to do this because
perimeter.
It'd be interesting if they poked perimeter.
They
just
can't
to see
do
what happened.
perimeter.
They can.
They can't manage perimeter.
Yeah, no, they're relying on their cap fleet to do.
Oh, that's
this,
true.
right?
They don't have quite the numbers.
Snuff
but I know a group who could.
Absolutely. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
That's just the end of the line there, Dawn. You don't know a group that could take on the TTC in
No,
perimeter.
that could. No.
But it's not
We
defended.
could do it.
Kirk, it's not being defended, and I'm not even sure it would be actively defended.
I-
And
I-
if so, it would add a lot of. Okay, people hate me for saying this, but I really don't understand why the TTT agreement is in effect right now.
I'd
I
actually
will
like-
double
We don't
down on
break our
that.
deals, and Billy hasn't
This
broken
is not
it yet.
about this is not about breaking a deal. This
Did
is
it-
about actually canceling it and at a 24 hours notice and saying this does not make sense when we are at war.
They
No,
could have
no.
canceled it.
Caleb, right? Well,
we don't cancel our deals at 24 hours notice. We're not that people. Even Test, who, will break deals, they told us, 20. They gave us 2 weeks notice on the NIP at the start of this war. And just as a secondary point, this is good for all of the participants in the war, pretty much. Like, there's no downside here.
Yes, there is.
What's the downside?
The strategic and moral wins right now, and the whole destruction level of the war over the entire period of the war. It's just nonsensical to leave this deal in effect.
So who breaks it then, Caleb?
Well, if we're talking about diplomacy and honor and all that stuff, I know that the Imperium likes to keep their nose clean, but I think in this case, it would be fair.
I'm
So
curious
the
who
other
breaks
interesting
this,
thing-
because McLeod, I have very intimate knowledge of the treaty that's involved here, and if one side drops the deal, then their profits in this are distributed evenly between the other two sides.
But money doesn't.
It is in nobody's
We need the
interest
money
to
though.
drop the deal.
Money and profitability doesn't suddenly disappear. It's just shifting around. So
the other thing,
loss
Caleb-
is really about how do we really benefit from this? Well, almost both side
We
SRP
don't is
bullshit.
the point, Caleb.
The fact that
Dirk is trying to get. Sorry, McLeod. Can I? Dirk is trying to get to the point that if we break the deal, all that does is fund our enemies even more.
Yes.
Plus the
No,
other
we
thing.
don't want-
Plus
we
the
want money.
plus
They
the
get more
other
money and we
like,
get
plus the other thing is, if we didn't have the deal, or if we broke the deal like way earlier on, we wouldn't have this deliciously awesome moment where essentially Brave is cascading due to not having enough money, yet still
Yet they're still paying
should
us.
be receiving value from Test, due to their sort of their cut for, or their sort of apparent sort of cut from TTT, where in actual fact they don't get jack shit, they just get value.
Well, let's be fair. They got a keep star. I asked them about that, and
Begrudgingly.
They decided to give them the keep star 8 hours after shit hit the fan. Now, Billy says they were asked for that days in advance, considering that he can't even read apparently what a leak says, and then when someone says "I quit," that apparently that doesn't mean they're quitting.
No, because that discussion
Reading comprehension is bad.
Reading comprehension is really low, apparently. So
The fact
Really hard.
is that the discussion in the Brave leaks does suggest that they were promised the PTAC-Z keep star well in advance. That
No,
does
it says
suggest
they
that
can't. It doesn't. It says they couldn't buy it. There was
says they-
buy words purchase.
Can we agree
And then-
that the TTT money is beer money compared to the bonds that have been issued recently?
Well, that's a given.
long
So
term.
can we agree that this war is not going to go on for another year?
I mean, long term, TTC money can pay for the interest on the bonds comfortably, more than comfortably.
Well, the point is that
So-
that money is not needed.
It's
Even though people insist that it is. I say it might be for Pappy forces, because I don't know, with the exception of Frat, I don't know how rich they are. But from an Imperium point of view, it's beer money, and I insist on calling it that, because there is not a liquidity problem in the Imperium, even though everyone thinks that there is. And there's not even a raw material problem, right? Again,
I mean,
it might have been hidden away, and the whole playing possum is fine, but that is not the Imperium's problem. The Imperium's problem right now is the 2 to 3 versus 1. That's the only problem.
We're being careful. We've got to say that. Like, we are being careful with the way money gets spent. We're being careful with the way money gets used. It's not as if we haven't cancelled our FC for ISK program, which is typically one of the first things to go that will indicate.
From a financial war point of view, it makes no sense to keep the TTT running. That's what I'm saying. If you're burning their fields in the background and making sure that
it makes perfect sense.
If you make sure that their logistic lines are suffering, that their finances are suffering, running this beer money program is not conducive to your goal.
Caleb, again, if we back out, it gets split between our opponent. So us staying in the agreement means less money going to our opponents. It also means that we have a trap on how much money is being spread around everywhere, which is a thing. And just as a final point, if we can reduce them through their infrastructure to just what you are referring to as a beer money program, with our backfields burning, with our infrastructure pressure, then we win. This is one victory endgame that I've just played out for you in about 2 minutes. If they're reduced to beer money, they have to stop, because their line won't handle it.
The point is, I'm just saying, who will suffer most from the fall of this agreement?
So the elephant in the room is on this particular subject is if we back away from the deal, it's kind of implied that maybe Imperium goes and destroys TTT, the TTT tower in perimeter.
It's a lot of effort.
I mean, but that's a lot of fucking effort to do. Like, that's not not your usual destroy. Yeah, that's not your usual go and destroy a Keepstar. Because as we said earlier, even Snuff can go and kill a Keepstar, but when it's in high sec and you can't use Titans and shit like that, it's a whole other ask. It's a whole other deal there.
I remember very vividly us reinforcing and destroying a Fortizar in perimeter across the course of our where were we deployed? Low sec,
up north,
just
right?
shy of M Taco. It was
Second Northern War.
I wouldn't necessarily call it that. I'm just going to grab the name of the system real quick.
The glassing of tribute.
Hakonen. The Hakonen deployment.
That's where I learned how to logic anchor.
We killed a Fortizar in perimeter across the course of the Hakonen deployment.
You did?
A single Fortizar.
We did kill a single Fortizar, and the first timer was relatively easy if you discount the fact that we had so many questions from line members as to how fucking security works, and how war decks work, and how sec status works, and the number of people that got killed just because they were like neg 10.
Can I
shoot on this one?
Yeah.
You see,
and then we did the armor timer, and then the hull timer was something like a 4-hour, 20% tie-dye slog, which resulted in us reshipping with, like, literally buying ships in Jita, bringing them into perimeter, fitting them in tie-dye, and then continuing to hand out ships, because it was just a question of grind. People were like getting back into rookie ships in that system,
like a Burn Jitter
going,
special.
shooting the structure, and then dying and doing the same thing. We killed it, but only just. It was a hell of a slog, and doing anything close to that level on a Keepstar, which at damage cap would take 8 hours to reinforce in max tie-dye because of the way it's fit, is just a dumb idea.
Yeah, especially at a time of war in the situation, in a time of war after 8 months of total war, right? It's a bit of an ask. But even so, even considering all of that, like, you know, if Test turned around and was like, oh yeah, we can get rid of goons from the whole TTT deal, if they can't kill the Keepstar if we like remove them. Well, the issue there is that sullies their name and their reputation in terms of being able to create a deal that people respect. So they won't do that either.
Yeah.
There's also a quick comment from Drusus Nero in Twitch chat saying that we could ask Imperium traders to move out of the perimeter TTT, and I just want to say that if we ask them to move back to Jita, that financially disadvantages them in the sense that they get taxed more. You've got to remember the Citadel taxes are as low as they possibly can be on the TTT, whereas Jita has additional taxes. It also financially disadvantages us because we're giving away all of that tax to the NPC CCP ISK sync rather than some of it coming back through the TTT tax wallet and then through our agreement back into us. It is in our interest to have Imperium traders in the TTT.
Plus, even if you do kill it, guess what? You don't even get a call. Like, ugh.
But it's not like that opportunity.
It's cord.
I'm not
pretty
cord.
sure the TTT is cord.
It's not cord.
Is it not cord?
It's cord.
Is it cord?
I promise you it's cord. I tethered on it earlier, and to tether on it, it had to have a core.
No, if it's grandfather, then it doesn't need to have a core for tethering.
Well,
yes, it does. Oh my goodness!
Right, so the grandfathering is for anchoring a structure. So you have to put a core in when you're anchoring and onlining a structure to get it online after the 12th of January. But if it doesn't have a core, it still loses those facilities that are allowed by cores. It's why I made a deal about coring the TTC structure in Ashab, because we've got a Market Satio over there in Ashab for anybody who's on the other side of the Niaja divide. Like, we need a core there. We need cores in these places so that people want to use the fitting services and all the rest of it.
Alright, I'm bad.
It's a deal, and
still, I will say that even though people might not think that this matters, but every time I bring this up, it really seemed to bother Vili and the Pappy forces. So I'm just saying that just for the moral win, getting the perimeter TTT out of the game would actually be a massive win.
Sure. But breaking the agreement mid-war funds them more, right? And we aren't going to be able to hit it mid-war. So the real play is waiting till after the war and we're recomposed, and then maybe hitting it. Now, I don't know.
Test is next.
But yeah, sooner or later, that Keepstar dies, right? If Test fall, who really is going to take over and save it?
Yeah, when it's not Test is next, but Test is now, then TTT probably goes.
I mean, seeing that Sotio, Test is now.
I mean,
how much of that Sotio drop?
Test can't defend their own space unless they like move back over to Soteria to protect it. They can't protect their agreements because they can't protect Ignoitin. Mm-hmm. They can't, because if they leave, we're gonna do something while they're gone. And Test has now burnt all their bridges behind them and are planting themselves down in Delve with no backup plan.
There is no backup plan for Test, though. There hasn't been ever since they announced that they would move.
Ever since they broke their
they have a surefire backup plan in exactly the same way as they had a surefire escape plan from M2 on the first M2.
How many ships are still trapped in M2?
It's like 120 something.
Is that all?
It's about that in Titans. There's more supers as well. It's like it's about a third of what they had in the first M2 fight, or it's about a third of what they had of what we trapped. Sorry.
Now, what will be interesting is when the Jammer comes online, which I think is in 2 weeks.
The Jammer, they took control of M2's iHub on the 2nd of February. So we are talking about the 9th of February for them to be able to get a Jammer online. We're talking about 2.5 weeks.
Okay.
So that's the doom clock, by the way, for any Imperium members watching. That's the doom clock for M2. If you want to do something, useful, you guys should be focusing on trying to reinforce the M2 iHub wherever you can. If we can snap that before, real talk, if we snap the M2 iHub before the 8th of February, then the silver ticket will start becoming more of an uptake. We've had a few people buy the silver ticket already, sell their Titans to us to get out. We've had a couple of defections, and
there were more than just the one.
So let's talk about the silver ticket here.
Can I just comment to Shira? I think I will experience an Iceland fan fest before 1DQ falls.
Let's talk about the silver ticket a little bit here, Dirk, because I didn't know actually anybody bought that, right? So we've got 120 Titans and whatever super caps, etc., trapped in M2. They can't get out, and we're offering them silver tickets, right? Which is to
get out of jail.
Get out of jail.
Yeah, so
and they sell their Titan or super to us.
I want to be very specific. Mm-hmm. We should be very specific here. The silver ticket is for Titan pilots.
Titan pilots.
Are you sure? Because one of the two I thought was a super pilot.
That may have been a defection. But specifically, the silver ticket where we buy your Titan and you go free, and you will go free. You'll be set blue to, at the very least, Goon Swarm. But we can definitely make these things happen. Basically, you sell your Titan to us at a discount on the value of the Titan, but it's reasonable money. We're not talking about, hey, we'll buy your fitted Titan for 20 billion ISK. We're talking about, in terms of our prices for Titans, you'll be given it'll be a discount, but the discount is you going free with your implants and everything. Once you buy that ticket, basically you dock up in the Keepstar. We set you blue, we give you ACL access, you dock up in the Keepstar in M2, you contract the Keepstar over to Goomwaffer for the amount agreed, I believe is the process, and then one of our finance directors will accept the contract, and you have your ISK, you get your blue for as long as it takes you to get out of the system, and back to, your own lines and what have you. And that's the very basic principle of the silver ticket. You sell us your Titan, sorry. You sell us your Titan for a small discount on market price, and you get to go free. You get to go back to your people. You get to do whatever the hell, join their fleets, make some money. You don't have your character stuck anymore.
And you have your implants if you make it home alive, right?
And you have your implants. If you're any sort of reasonable Titan pilot, you'll have a couple of backup interceptors and what have you in your.
You are really reaching on what everybody's got in their ships.
If people don't have an interceptor in their Titan, then they're doing. I know I say this a lot, but they're doing it wrong.
If it's not on the fitting page, I guarantee at least 30% of people don't have it. I know I have one, but.
So, and the important thing, Dirk, to point out on this, right? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, Goon scam and all this crap," right? A couple people have done it.
All silver.
And this is a Diplo.
Right. On the topic of scamming,
right?
All silver ticket agreements will either go through a Goon Swarm diplomat or one of our finance directors, depending on how things work. If you are looking to buy a silver ticket, you can reach out to Goon Swarm diplomats. I'll drop a link to our official diplomat page in Twitch chat right there, but it is wiki.goonfleet.com/official_diplomats. You contact anyone on that list. Goon Swarm diplomats are prohibited from scamming. So are Goon Swarm, or I should say Imperium directors. So are members of the Illuminati, people like Merkelchen and many other any other directors. Casimir, for example, is one of our finance directors. We do not scam because that has a negative impact on the agreements that we make. If we actually enter into an agreement with you, if we say, hey, we will buy your Titan for this amount, you give us the name of your character and we will get it set blue. We will coordinate with you, set your character blue, to get you a time when you can log in, to make all of that happen, and make sure that you have a contract waiting. Or a director online who can do a trade for you for that amount. We do not scam you. We will not scam you, especially regarding the silver ticket. If anybody is scammed regarding the silver ticket, person who scammed them will be blacklisted. And Dave has a fantastic link as well for the silver ticket. I'll drop that in Twitch chat as well. That's got many translations of the silver ticket deal, but there we have it.
Because he tried to, and then the bot basically, like, slapped him. And
Yeah,
yeah, the bot ate me.
You've got to be.
Dave doesn't have
the
permissions.
But yeah, we won't scam you for this. We keep our word. That's the one thing that the Goonswarm diplomatic team has held to forever and a day. We keep our word. If we enter an agreement, then that's the agreement. That's just how it goes, guys. If you want, if you want to get out of M2, then there's a deal for you.
Yeah, just make sure that you're doing the negotiation or contacting actual official legitimate diplos on that, on that are listed on that page.
I like that it's 13 languages.
It is 13 languages.
Is Russian and Chinese in the top?
Well, yeah, of course, they're major languages, but we've also got German, we've got French in there, we've got Japanese in there, as far as I'm aware. We've got, Danish. We've got Magyar, which was one that I was surprised about. I do believe somebody did an Australian translation, but we didn't allow that to make it to the page because 3 words does not count as a translation.
And sea bombing is not allowed.
I still love the fact that Chinese and Russian is number 2 and 3.
I want to say we should also say it's not Chinese. It's whichever particular
Mandarin.
Language.
I'm amazed you have Tagalog.
We have
impressive.
We have a huge variety.
Swahili on there.
Sanskrit. We got Sanskrit.
Like in terms of the number of people with the number of languages that these people speak, it's incredible. And I do want to say as well, all of those translations were done by volunteers. There were a couple of bits where some of our Diplo Corps helped out, but a lot of those translations were done by volunteers who got nothing back for it. They just wanted to help out, and so they did a translation for us that we could add.
I'm curious, how many people have actually used the silver ticket up till now? Is there an actual number on that?
It's 2 or 3.
I don't have an exact count, but it's a couple. It's not many, but this is what I was saying about the M2I hub, right? If we don't snap the M2I hub, they can put Sino inhibs up in 2.5 weeks. Having hung on for 7 weeks, 8 weeks, somewhere like that, in M2 already. For some people, it's going to be, worthwhile to hang on and just, wait for the Sino inhib. So at this point, if we can snap the iHub, we expect a lot more silver ticket purchases. But that's an if and a when, and so yeah, that's what I was saying. If people in the Imperium are looking for things to Entosis, M2 to get a decent timer, yeah.
Personally, I love the silver ticket offer. I think it's a stroke of genius, especially actually honoring it, because it plays so well into the whole narrative with the actual war bonds.
Uptick in aggression from Paspy?
Say that again?
Because I've noticed that they, last time they kind of like took their time working their way down through NOL, that chain, getting over into the M2 pocket, and now it's just like fuck, and just did like 20 systems all at once. And then they're coming out to try and like try to defend catch a bit. They're hitting Aquarius occasionally. Do you feel like they have a sense of urgency going on for some reason? Like,
I don't know if it's that, but I've heard a nice little rumor that certain Horde people have taken over.
Oh, that Gobbins might have said, "Fuck bitches, get out the way."
Quite possibly.
He did say he was going to do that, or that Horde was going to do something if things didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking that potentially Vince, Gobbins, and that side have taken over on the time frame choices?
You know what? Let's see how he can do. Right, it's probably better than previous.
No. Because remember, the Anaconda strategy of slowly choking us out is the best plan. Slow and steady wins the race.
It's an edging war.
I mean, I'm one for a good old edging, but still.
I know you're a fan of edging, Dawn, but just not in this
it's so much fun. So I just noticed that they kind of like went more fast spurts with like more lulls in between, I guess, instead of the slow steady burn. They did hit really hard and then not much going on for the next like 1 or 2 days, and then hit really hard again when the timers come up, and then nothing, not too much big activity for the next few days. At least that's what I'm noticing, unless someone else is seeing something different. I'm gonna go with no. So.
I'm still lolling from Caleb's match.
Hey, we've actually covered this topic a little bit before, right? It's just we didn't downright actually name it, but it is the edging war. And I just think that this whole denial from the Pappy forces that well, I had a little bit of a row with Elise on talking in stations, and he got a little bit offended at the whole thing that I called it a very slow war, and that I quoted Grass for saying it was so crazy slow that it should have been done at a third of the time. But I just don't think
it was only because you mentioned the phrase, win faster. That was the only reason.
But it's because the momentum of the Pappy train was just massive in the beginning, and I just don't understand why you would choose that strategy when you have that type of manpower. It's one of those things that doesn't make sense to me. It's very similar to how I feel about the TTT. Strategically,
it
just doesn't make sense.
This game unfun.
Well, but the point is that it is fun.
He's trying to make it so that way, as he says, I don't want people to quit the game. I just want to make your group unfun. No, you were actively, because we've all talked in the Imperium. We're like, once this war is done, we're all taking a break. The game has nothing for us that we care about game-wise. So the only reason why we're here is to support each other. And I know so many people who are going to take 1, 2, 3 months breaks.
But Dawn is a great example of an Imperium player, right? If you bring things like light paddling, strangulation and edging, you're just bringing the fun. It's like, why are you threatening me with a good time? It's like, come on, guys.
This is like I said before Christmas.
Bring out the bullwhips.
Like the plan.
You said light paddling, not bullwhips. Jesus.
Family show.
That escalated quickly.
What kind of family do you have?
There's nothing wrong with a bullwhip. I mean, it may or may not,
No, but joking aside, it's a
Fair.
fact that this is entertainment for the Imperium. The Imperium is having fun with this, and I don't think that they are seeing this anywhere near an existential threat yet. Maybe it was on paper, but the way that the war has progressed, I don't feel like it's an existential threat anymore at all. Not even a little bit. I used to say that, well, the Imperium could be cut down in size to like 50%, but it's not even going to be close. It's going to be maybe 10,
Can we clarify
20.
what you mean by existential threat?
His
You mean that a fear of the group breaking up, or versus like fear of us losing our
Well,
space?
there was an existential threat in the Casino War. It was very very painful, right? Right.
The Casino War was. I was on the other side for the Casino War, but the Casino War is the closest the Imperium has ever come to an existential threat.
And this should have been worse.
And as somebody who has been a Goonswarm diplomat for getting on for 4 years at this point, I've seen time and again the efforts and the particular contingencies that have been put in place, the lessons that we've learned over the years about how to avoid being back in that situation as the Imperium,
learned for the
as
journey?
a community. Like, the community isn't going anywhere. You can't stop us at this point. We're going to be here for each other until the server fucking stops. Like,
and again, back to the culture, right? The Imperium, the average Imperium player is having fun by this type or this level of challenge, because it is not what I would call threatening. It is not something, oh, my group is going to be gone in 6 months. Nothing even close. And sure, they might be struggling. I'm not saying that the initiative is not getting pushed a bit on their finances and maybe even their numbers. And it's the same with Bastion.
Bastion just made money.
Yeah, but the
What are you
point is that
talking
even
about? Bastion's made 100 billion ISK on top
But
of the
even
other
if-
stuff they've taken.
even if they're struggling, the level of challenge is. This is the type of players that when they play most games will put things into hard mode, right? So why are you using this strategy? It's like it's not going to work. I know that I'm
all that they're
like doing a
is-
little bit of cheerleading, but I'm generally not seeing anyone from the Imperium being really frustrated. They're really having fun.
Right. Before the show, we had a conversation about spin, and I'm sad that didn't cross over into our weekly "Hey, what the fuck are the commentators talking about while Eric is muted" situation. But we were talking about spin and how spin isn't something that you plan out. Spin is something of a reactionary force. It's something that somebody hears about something for the first time, and their instinctive reaction is to listen to the topic at hand and then craft a response on the fly. And sometimes spin works, sometimes spin doesn't, but that's spin. And here we are, there's somebody in Twitch chat saying, is there a memorable fight that Pappy won? And we spun the way they lost their low set keep stars as a loss for them, but they got a keep star down. That was a strategic victory for them. We have to concede that was a strategic victory.
Well, there's been a few. It's
But
been
is
a bit
that
of a back and
memorable?
forth. But again, back and forth wise, if you bring 2 to 3 versus 1, and you are only punching 1 to 1, it's like then you're losing. Seriously, then you're really losing. And this is what I feel like when it comes to how Pappy has progressed. Sure, they have been able to win strategic goals and clear fountain and push into delve and all that stuff, but not on a scale that I see mattering. And this is back to why I keep insisting that this is almost a lull war. I have not done the napkin math. I'm sorry, guys, but I haven't. But if you look at the destruction numbers over the entirety of the war, I am pretty sure that we might not actually be in the negative yet. I especially if you
Very
start
even
counting
from the numbers I've seen.
if you count things like the beer money, right, and you say, okay, how much does that offset it when it comes to losses, so destruction versus creation? I don't think this is really a meaningful war. I think it's almost a joke war.
The
Well,
reason I brought up the spin topic, real quick. The reason I brought up the spin topic is because somewhere in the region of 4 months ago, I was having a conversation with Villy on Trash Talk Tuesday, and I said we were going to be in Delve until the last Keep Star falls. You know, we're going to be in Delve.
Strange that you
until the
say last Keep Star
falls.
They haven't even gotten to 5% of the Keep Stars yet.
While
Delve.
there's a Keep Star in Delve, we're not going anywhere.
Up,
but at the same time,
no. Okay.
You know, at the same time, going back to Losat, finding another region, rebuilding, these are contingency plans. These are the things that good leadership structures build. You build a contingency plan against anything that might be catastrophic.
Yeah,
and going back to
Losec
best, would be...
But you plan for the worst.
It would be bad for the Imperium. We would lose members in much the same way as any organization that loses its space entirely will lose members, because some people just want to stay in the same place, do the same things. They're not integrated into the community. But the number of people that are integrated into the Imperium community, they can't take us out of the game. They can push us out of Delve, for sure. They can make us feel the hurt that, you know, was the same as the Casino War. But we'll come back to them.
Dirk, we did the math. The time it will take to quote-unquote glass
It's
Delve
too
and
long.
empty it, it's not going to happen. This is why I jokingly said that 1DQ will not happen until I've been at FanFest. Because, again, 1DQ is the impossible battle. And I talked about this a little bit the last time. The amount of dedication that people will be willing to make on both sides to have that fight is massive, and the servers can't hold that. So it's a non-issue. 1DQ cannot fall because the fight cannot happen.
See, Caleb, you can't say never. Never say never.
No. Go on. Literally never.
No, literally.
You're asking if restructure in Delve would take over 4 years straight of round-the-clock ops.
Well,
But that's if you're doing one after the other, after the other, after the other.
When people say that you can't kill the TTT, this is a provable fact that you can, right? But you can't kill 1DQ. Because not only is there not just one Keepstar there, but the willingness to actually pile in as many fucking forces to defend it will never happen, because the servers cannot do it. So unless you have to go the other way around. You have to lose about 50% of the participation and dedication of the Imperium to be able to actually have that fight.
Yeah, like, and this was something I was going to ask, like, actually about 5-10 minutes ago. But it's funny with this conversation that you've all been mentioning, like, you know, we'll be staying in Delve until the last Keepstar dies, kind of thing. And, you know, 1DQ is basically impenetrable because of, you know, the fact that we have, like, was it like 3 or 4 Keepstars in there and a whole bunch of other citadels and stuff? 5 Keepstars in there?
5 Keepstars plus all
it's just
of
ridiculous,
the
right?
forts.
So the question that I wanted to ask, like, prior to all of that was, like, considering we were talking about spin, right, and we were talking about, like, propaganda and all that kind of jazz, like, how, like, what do you think that sovereignty is worth anything in this game anymore?
Right now, no. It's useless.
No, I won't say it's useless. It has some value in that, you know, sovereignty is required for your jump bridges. It's required for your Sino-jammers. Sino-jammers before this war were never a thing that the Imperium really worried about. You know, the number of systems that had Sino-jammers in Delve before we were prepping for this war is in the, like, single digits, probably. But
yeah, but it's not
in terms of the infrastructure. It has an impact in terms of how long it takes a structure to anchor, because you've got to remember, hostile sov means that for every level, it takes longer to anchor a structure, so that does delay. It definitely does delay.
That's just quality. But the thing is, Dirk, that's just quality of life in terms of movement and in terms of defense.
We've been saying for years that we want a new Citadel focus sov situation. McLeod, if you want a very simple answer, no, FuzzySov has very little impact nowadays. And CCP, can we actually have what you promised us with Upwell Structures, where we are, actually seeing Citadel-based sovereignty?
Yeah,
back to the old fucking POS sovereignty, right?
We only had that promise in 2016.
Can I just armchair Dev for a second? This is very similar to when I tried to explain, and even Villier actually agreed on my main point of this, that actual structures need to have a fuel consumption that's based on their actual individual activity level. So the more activity, the more fuel it needs to consume. And as I then said,
I don't disagree.
The industry index should actually do the opposite of what it does now. It should actually offset that. So the higher the industry index, the less fuel consumption is needed. And it's similar things that are needed when it comes to SOV. You need a SOV that doesn't necessarily give you a stupid overpowered defense benefit, but what it should give you is the finances to do so. Right?
I'll take a SOV that doesn't require, interceptors online or nothing in between.
The point I'm making is what SOV should give you. What SOV should give you is massive income stream that can be used on your infrastructure, right?
That's what it should give you. That's what it should give you. What it does give you at the moment is not exactly too much. It's just basically quality of life. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up just after the whole kind of propaganda and sort of like spin thing, because a lot of the other side, a lot of Pappy seems to be sort of adamant about the fact that if we lose SOV, it's like some big fucking nasty thing. When in actual fact, in 2021 and even in 2020, it didn't really mean much at all.
It's a fun question because you've got to remember, right? Like a fully upgraded iHub in a system is worth billions of ISK. In terms of the materials that it takes to produce the iHub, in terms of the materials it takes to produce the upgrades, a system that has level 5 ratting and mining is worth billions of ISK.
The point is
so these are the things that we're defending. We're defending part of not only our income streams, but also our investment in the region. But at the same time, it doesn't do anything to kick us out.
The point I'm trying to make when it comes to infrastructure and how you upgrade your systems and benefit from all these things, this type of infrastructure should be more granular, more modular, and it should be something that is completely controlled by the players and how they want to focus their actual space, right? What they want to do with it. And that thing should also be assailable. It should be easily, or quote unquote easily assailable. So you can pick off these things and slowly damage an organization's infrastructure, right? This is what would create meaningful fights and strategic goals. And right now, I think this whole iHub TCU design is horrible. It's not really effective. It's not fun. It's not a good way of creating effects. Ironically, what Pappy has been doing with attacking these things in their edging war doesn't do the thing that it's supposed to do. This type of strategy should work if CCP had designed the game better.
Yeah, I mean, they did say that they were going to introduce some changes to iHubs eventually. Like, hopefully it's more along those directions. But like
4 years ago,
that's a very.
They said it in the dev blog late last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming, but like, much like the fabled carrot, right? It's coming soon. TM.
Believe it when I see it.
Can I mention the admin hub, because that was also on a roadmap once?
Oh God.
Yeah, observatory array. We had roadmaps.
Observatory array and admin hub would have been a good move in the right direction, but it was completely slated, and I don't understand why. Whether it's a technical problem, it might be. It's just it seems like they've abandoned things that would have made the game actually move in the direction that Dirk also mentioned, with sovereignty being based a lot more on structures and actual infrastructure and how much have you done in your space.
So just to level set everybody, we've got about 8 minutes left here in the show. So, make sure we don't start too many topics coming up here.
No, we need to start doing our.
I was gonna say, I know Bard Ghost has some news that his ex-girlfriend status would probably like to share. Nope.
No.
No, every time you get jack off to it, I'm gonna bring it up.
Hey, what can I say? I like watching what's going on with hostile alliances, right? And I like watching where the corps leave and go to. It just happens that one of those alliances that is losing corps right now is a former alliance of mine. Therefore, Dawn has a problem with that.
I don't have a problem. I just think it's funny.
You're being congratulated on your
pending fatherhood.
Your pettiness, yeah. So
people have taken that in Twitch chat way the wrong way.
Fuck.
Ghost, when are you expecting again?
Never.
No, Argos isn't pregnant, guys. That would be interesting, though. No,
Dirk, I need to double down on something. We talked about rhetoric and damage control and spin classes for the Imperium. I have an even better idea. How about we sell those courses to Pappy?
No.
What? How to form a community?
Some of their alliances could do with it, Caleb. Sorry.
12 bill a quarter?
So,
yeah, something like
before
that.
we lose
That's a
our
good
train
price.
of thought, Warped Intentions lost one of their largest corps this week to Brave. I don't know what they see in Brave, considering that's falling apart. But, sure. Maybe they just need them to help move their shit out before they leave permanently.
No. Those guys have gone over. They're an industry corp, right? They're taking over Norman's role. Brave might finally have a logistics team.
Ooh. That'd be helpful.
The issue is, well, there's a question there. If their logistics team is simply an industrial corporation, what's to stop their entire logistics team leaving at once when their corporation moves again?
Is that like Jamaica's got a bobsleigh team?
Jamaica did have a bobsled team.
I know. That's why I mentioned it.
Pointing that out.
Yeah,
that was a very good film too.
I love that movie.
Dawn, I've got to ask also how your ex is doing, right? How's Quirius right now?
Well, apparently they've gotten really mad. I don't know if it's because of me or what, but it's been going pretty good. We destroyed the PTEC ZI hub, but we didn't have a replacement one, so Brave put one down. But we did kill it, so there's that. Siberian Squad has had some really good fights, and it's been a lot of back and forth. But you can definitely tell Testicles and them got really fucking pissy later this week. So we'll see later. I try not to talk about it too much because I'm the kind of person who doesn't want to talk shit until 100% we just kicked your ass and there's nothing you can do about it. Because that's just, it's no fun having egg on your face.
Dawn doesn't like to talk shit, but then she goes on Trash Talk Tuesday most weeks.
Yeah,
so
and I still fucking shut them all
dichotomy
down.
Yeah,
they all shut their fucking mouths up after that. They got caught lying.
We covered that in the pre-show, but nobody gets to hear that except us. So let's go over that in the last couple minutes here.
Isn't that Dawn's version of? Or this is an either or. Either it's Dawn's version of screaming therapy or laughing therapy. I'd just like to know which one.
Well, basically, they were trying to say that something wasn't written out in the leaks, that Norman wasn't, or that Norman was quitting his job as the logistics director. Oh my God, Kat! I know.
Okay.
Kitty.
It's not a show without Kat.
In Brave's defense, wasn't that an interim?
He said, "I'm doing this job until you guys can find a replacement. I'm done with it. Blah blah blah." They said he didn't say that. They said that's not what it said, and I said, "Yes, it is." One of our viewers was kind enough to actually pull up the pastebin. I didn't know I needed to have notes. I thought I was just gonna go and hang out, have them shit talk a little bit. We'll call it a day. Oh no, it was 45 minutes of grill fest, and I have gotten multiple messages from people.
There was more information than that. Again, back to the interim thing. He had accidentally fallen into that position, and he didn't want it during this whole kerfuffle. So not only was the only one that had actually stepped up and grabbed the logistic role. It had pretty much just been left there. It's pretty much like their budgeting, apparently, that they forget that they have this thing that just goes out every month for no apparent fucking reason.
It's basically he wandered past the pilots, like the pilot cabin kind of thing, and nobody was fucking flying the plane, and he was like, somebody should probably fly the plane, and nobody said, oh, okay, I will. So he was like, fuck, I guess it's gonna have to be me then.
Yep.
You know, that's an important differentiation, right? We really have, when you look at the Imperium, right? There's real finance people running Imperium finances, right? They do big finances.
Yeah, fucking team, right? Not just a single dude.
Yeah, I mean it's a big deal, right? And
Real
when you look at smaller
running IT
alliances, you know, some guy with a spreadsheet.
Well, this is one of the jokes. These groups are not small. It's not like there's not the likelihood of there being very talented people in there that could do those jobs. It's that they do not seem to have a meaningful meritocracy. This is the big difference between the Imperium and every other group in EVE, that the Imperium is almost like social climbing, right? If you are good at something, it's very likely that you're going to be able to end up in a role of influence doing exactly what you're good at.
There's a joke within the Imperium that I think a lot of people know, but also potentially a lot of people don't know. And that is that if you don't want a space job, don't display competence.
You Pretty much.
There's so much incompetence in the Imperium. It's because they're trying to avoid
it's not.
I mean, there is a reason most of us come on this show every week, right, and make ourselves look like idiots.
But by our very nature, there's going to be a lot of people who can do various things. There's going to be a lot of people who can't, and that's fine. But if you don't want a space job in the Imperium, don't appear competent, because somebody will find you, and somebody will promote you. And you will end up doing a job that you didn't expect to be doing 2 months ago, but just wanted to do. You're doing something for fun, right? You're doing something for fun, and suddenly you get a job.
Let me just completely obsec on that, because this is maybe one of the things that the Pappy can actually use for something. And yes, I am going to spill the beans. The reason that the Imperium often looks incompetent is exactly because of what Dirk just told you. It is because they're trying to avoid actually getting the roles that would potentially be thrown at them. So they are always resembling complete incompetence until push comes to shove, and they have to actually be competent. Then they will be competent and not look like complete buffoons.
I just want to end on this, but Dirk, you must be extremely competent in EVE for you to be able to hedge your competency on this show so effectively.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing what now?
That was some shots fired.
Wow. I have no idea what you mean, McLeod. I would never make myself out to be more of an idiot than I am.
All right, guys.
My favorite part.
We've come to the end. We got to run around. We'll do the one last thing here. We're going to start with Sothrasil, who is currently named Sovrasil. Go, Soth.
Yeah, I missed half the show, so I don't really have anything.
Anger games.
As always.
Okay.
Soth, for fuck's sake, Soth, I need to get you talking points. Soth, advertise. What is happening tomorrow?
Hey. First of all, you said that 2 weeks ago, that you're going to get me talking points, and I still don't have any talking points.
I didn't actually believe I had to make them. Am I going to have to give you, like, a fucking list every fucking week? Is that how this is going to go, buddy?
And to our audience, this is the level of incompetence we're talking about.
Soth is now going to tell you about a thing that is happening tomorrow.
Yes. Tomorrow at 2000 Eve, we are going to have a stream. It's probably going to be on the EVNT channel on Twitch.
He says probably. Oh my god.
Probably. Things can happen, okay?
I'm going to hurt him, guys.
And if anyone wants to know why Soth is not in leadership...
The thing is, I am in leadership in lots of things. So.
I know.
So moving on, Soth, stream at 2000 tomorrow on the EVNT channel. What is it about?
We are going to draw up the seed for the Anger Games. That means we are going to determine which team is going to play which.
In which round?
Well, yeah.
What?
In the first round. This is going to be the first day's matches of the Anger Games, guys. We're going to draw that tomorrow, live on the EVNT server, EVNT Twitch, sorry. It's going to be starting about 2000. There's going to be some discussion about the teams, about the tournament. Then we're going to have a surprise guest to draw these things live out of a hat. It's going to be old school drafting style. My God, I'm gonna murder Soth after the show. There we go. There's Soth and my final thing.
Okay.
Alrighty. All right. And by the way, that's 2000 UTC time, correct? Eve.
Yes,
time.
2000 Eve time.
Just so everybody knows.
So Bard Ghost?
I don't really have much to say this week, so I'm just going to hand mine off.
Caleb?
Oh, I do have one. I am so hyped and looking forward to seeing how Initiative / Pando and Bliss takes massive advantage of this new formation thing and brings the hilarity and proves to everyone that this is not just useful, it's maybe completely broken.
Alrighty, Dave.
Okay, mine's not Eve, so mine is that I've got a 999-day streak on Duolingo, so tomorrow's going to be a 1,000-day streak. Hell yeah.
There you go. Congratulations. Dirk, do you have something to add?
I did my thing when I yelled at Sothersil, but I do want to congratulate Dave on his 1,000-day streak dealing with that fucking owl.
There you go. And
Thank you.
Dawn?
So for mine is we're gonna have a special guest, knock on wood, next week. Everyone be on their best behavior. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk about it at all because y'all wanted to yammer on about angler games or something. No. But we are gonna have a special guest on next week, and everyone should tune in.
All right.
It's somebody that I like a lot, so.
Alrighty. So definitely special guest next week. RJ or McLeod, did you guys?
Yeah.
I got one thing.
Okay, go McLeod.
RJ. Okay. I just wanted to say, Dirk, that burn was actually a compliment in disguise. I was actually basically saying that you're an extremely competent person.
Yeah. RJ?
All right. If you're in the in crowd and you're competent, does that make you incompetent? And I'm out.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening, everyone, to our 150th show. Thank you. And, we'll be back next week with a big show. Thanks. You guys have a great day.